Oh, yes, man. Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, six-time world champ, two-time Hall of Famer. Got my man Brad Gilmore here with me. They call him the GOAT. Oh, yes. I want to thank everybody, as always, for stepping inside the Hall of Fame, getting your champagne wishes and caviar dreams, man. We got a whole lot to talk about here inside the Hall of Fame. A lot of sports went down this weekend, as well as talk about the passing of one of the boxing greats, one of the all-time greats, George Foreman. We definitely got to speak on him. But we got somebody on standby right now who is a legend in her own right, as well. And she got a new book. Her name is Saraya, formerly known as Paige. She has a new book, Hell in Boots, Clawing My Way Through 9 Lives. She's a multi-time champion. She's done all of that as well. I don't even have the stat sheet with me right now, but let's bring in Saraya. Boom! Right now.
Yeah, hi, Booker.
Hey.
Hello.
What's going
First
on?
of all, having Booker call me a legend in my own right is probably the most iconic thing that's ever happened to me.
Come on,
so
man.
I
Come
appreciate
on.
that.
Well, that's coming from an OG brother from the hood.
Brother from the
in
hood.
the hood.
Oh my
In
god.
the hood. Yeah.
Did you tell him that story?
He just remembered it. I didn't tell him.
Oh my gosh. Dude, the internet started ripping me apart, and I was like, Booker told me to say it. It was so funny. Oh my god.
How you feel, man? How you feel?
Oh my gosh, I'm so good. It's just, you know how it is, like once you're putting something out, you are going, you're busy, you're doing all this media, you're barely sleeping, but I'm so excited because it drops tomorrow. One more day.
Yeah. I mean, you do got so much going on. And I do want to get into the book. Let's do that first.
Yeah.
First and foremost, because you've had so many different, waves. You've been on like so many different highs. You've had so many different lows. And you've been, there in the middle. So give me the overlay as far as, you clawing your way through those 9 lives.
Yeah. It's just, personally, I'm not one to open up to people. Like, I like to keep any traumatic experiences to myself. So a lot of people don't know what I've gone through in my life. And I always say, like, I'm a cat because I've gone through so many different lives. And that's where the subtitle comes in. But yeah, it starts from when I'm very, very young as a kid up until I win the AEW Women's Championship. And then, I've got a second book in me, so we'll get to that. But yeah, it's a very intense book. I've done a lot of media where people said, Saraya, at one point I had to put the book down for a second because it does get quite dark. And I wanted people to get to that point where if they're reading my story, they're impacted by it, and hopefully they can get inspired by it,
Yeah, that's the cool part, about being successful. I mean, being able to give back, being able to pay it forward a little bit, because I always say writing my book and telling my story, it definitely did something for me, but I know it did something for so many young people out there that was walking in my boots, and then they hear it from me and they go, man, if Booker T can do it, I can do it too.
Exactly.
That was my message. And my thing is, you do have like so many different layers, like I say, because, I remember you, as a little kid, in the arenas, running around and stuff, and it was like it was destined to happen. You know what I mean? It was your destiny to be a part of this business. But do you tap on that part of the journey?
Like from when I was a kid?
Yeah, like when you was in the arenas running around.
Yeah. I talk about that, being in the business, and then also like watching my dad when I was a kid and not realizing, like, I 100% believe my dad was getting his ass beat constantly. And it was just like, I just remember being in the arena and feeling that and feeling the energy from, like, I mean, we didn't have a big crowd back then, even if there's like 20 people, but like wrestling has such a wonderful energy when you're in the crowd. So yeah, I talk about that when I was younger, being in the little small venues or in the parking lots where our ring would be set up. It's just, yeah, I want people to see it from the very, very beginning. Yeah, and just know how much I'm so involved and in love with wrestling.
Well, that obviously comes through throughout your whole career. But one of the things of writing a book, did you find that it was cathartic at times to like revisit these places and actually kind of make peace with maybe moments that you haven't really dealt with?
Yeah, you know, it was very therapeutic in a way. And you know what? Like, Booker's going to understand this. It's one of the most exhausting experiences I think I've ever done because, you know, I tried to have, you know, a ghostwriter at the beginning. So I was just like, I don't think I'm going to be able to put pen to paper as well as someone else who can professionally do it. But then when she did it, I love her. Great. God bless her. But like, she made me sound like I was at the cast of Annie, right? So then so then I had to redo it again and spend another year on top of that, completely gutting it and rewriting it. And so I had to keep going through these emotions so many times. Like even Renee, our girl Renee Booker was just texting me today saying that she was reading the book and just like she said, I can't imagine what you had to go through to write like a certain chapter, you know? And it's like very, very intense. And it's like there's highs and there's lows, but the lows when you have to like really get them out as a person that doesn't really like to show her feelings, you know, it was really, really difficult. It was very difficult.
Yeah, that's the part, when friends, and family read it,
Mm.
and they really like start feeling it at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like there's one story in my book where my sister and I had to, get in our mom's old car. My mother had passed away, but we had to get in the car and we had to go to the gas station just to get some water. And
Oh,
when my wife hear that story, man, she just cries, man. She just cries. You know what I mean? So it is so emotional. Going back, reading it, going back, watching it. So there again, how have you felt? Dealing with that side of it.
yeah, I'm so proud of myself for doing it. Again, it's like it's a very vulnerable like position you put yourself in when you let people in that close, you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's just yeah, it's I'm just very proud of myself. I can't believe I did it. I can't believe I put all that out there and just like, you know, people again, everyone that's reading me is texting me about it and it was just like, I just had no idea you went through all these things. I'm like, because I don't like to share these things. But I was like, if I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna write my book. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna tell everybody the nitty gritty, the very dark times where I hit complete rock bottom, you know, like my childhood, how dark it got, you know, it was just I needed people to really see me. And, you know, I'm quite a controversial figure, right, when it comes to wrestlers. And a lot of people have told my story, like, and, you know, and then a lot of people think they know who I am. And a lot of people have an opinion about me and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it was like really important for me to be able to tell my story, you know, and actually have, you know, it come from me, basically, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Brad. I see you.
Yeah, when you hit submit though to the publisher, so it's one thing to like write it, go through the edit, and then you send it off. The deadline's here, and you know that it's locked, and there's no changing anything in the book. It's
Oh
going to
yeah.
hit the shelves. Like, what was that feeling like, knowing that this is it?
It terrified me because I was just like, okay, like I might hurt some feelings or I might not hurt any feelings. It just depends what it is. But it's just like having, again, being so vulnerable and having that part of me like out there. And then so many things have changed since the end of this book too. Like there's a lot of big things that are about to come out, like positive stuff, you know, and also like I was with a boyfriend at the end of my book. I'm no longer with him. Like my life is going a completely different direction. It's just like, I feel like I wish I could change it, but then it's just, you know, I can just do another book on top of it. But yeah, things have just changed since then. In the past couple of months, it's crazy what life can do, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. When you left WWE, I mean, let's talk about that for a second. When you left WWE, there was so many people probably anticipating you, perhaps coming back to WWE, and then boom, you end up in AEW. Are there any perhaps unfinished business in WWE, perhaps that you perhaps want to finish? You know what I mean? Because you're still young. You're still
Yeah.
young. I mean, even though you started so young in the business, you're still young enough to still make a huge impact. So I was just wondering, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I love WWE and I don't have like any negative feelings towards them. I mean, they raised me, they saved me a lot. Like I just appreciate them so much. And like the idea of going somewhere else was only because, you know, the potential of my brother being there was like a big thing. I just wanted him to be a success in wrestling, you know? And so, but I love WWE and I would absolutely, if there was something that they needed from me, which was like exciting, I would definitely go there. Yeah, absolutely. Like it would be silly not to, I feel like, so yeah, if there's an opportunity to do something fun, hell yeah, I'll jump on board.
Well, I will say you had an incredible career in WWE, but in AEW, watching you at Wembley come out to Queen, have that moment. I remember Booker and I talking about it on the show and just how impactful it was and how I felt like everybody was rooting for you to go out there and do it. And then you do it, get it done, and be able to celebrate winning the world title after, maybe you thought you weren't going to wrestle again. I know you covered in the book, but just what was that experience like just walking out to Queen?
Yeah, so they surprised me with that, with the Queen, because I asked for it, but it's really pricey, to like get a song like that. But I just thought, the Brits love Queen, they love Freddie Mercury, and they love to sing. Like, Booker, you've wrestled it before, how like intense they can get, and they love that kind of thing. So I was like, oh, I'd really love this song. And then they were like, oh, we don't think we're going to get it for you. But they did. And I was so like happy, and the crowd loved it. They were very much into it. And then I didn't tell my family there with me, but I didn't tell my family I was winning because I wanted them to have an authentic like reaction and be happy for me. But I bawled my eyes out because I never thought I would wrestle again. I never thought I would hold a championship again. I never thought I would be performing in Wembley Stadium in my life. So I was very grateful. And yeah, I cried my eyes out. When Tony had told me the day before, the night before, it was like very last minute, It just, I just said, thank you. Like, this is incredible. I mean, I didn't hold it for that long, but like,
that's definitely something we got to talk. We got to take a quick break, but that's something we got to talk about. And stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame, Roland. But no, that's what I want to talk to you about. Was the scheduling in AEW compared to WWE. It's like AEW compared to WCW. I always tell the story when I first signed with WWE in 2001, right? Before that, I used to be on my boat almost like every weekend. I'll be out fishing, going up to the, little club, getting a drink and whatnot, all that stuff, And then I signed with WWE in 2001, and I went to work. And then one day I said, man, I had a weekend off. I said, I'm going to go out in my boat and, go hang out, try to catch something. But I had to go get a sticker put on it because it had been sitting for a while. And I went and get the sticker put on it, and I realized it was 2005.
It had been 4 years?
It had been 4 years since I had been out of my boat. So I was like, what the hell, man? You know what I mean? But I realized how much time I had off, in WCW. How does it feel having, the leisure in AEW and being able to have that scheduled, or you can actually, still have, so much more life to do over here?
Yeah, it is very different, but you're right, because I'm used to doing like 5 days a week and then only going home for like one day, and I love the grind. I love that. Like, I enjoyed my time. It was exhausting, of course. But like, yeah, I had to get used to just like being at home a little bit, like it was like that. I mean, I retired for a little bit, but I constantly stayed busy. But just in the wrestling world, it was like very weird to not have live events and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, it was nice. Like, we get the freedom, to do whatever we want. And that was one of the big catalysts of me wanting to sign there too, is you do get a lot of freedom. And, like, I don't have to ask permission to go do things and all that kind of stuff, which I think WWE's changed now. I think they're actually more open to that kind of stuff, which I think is great. I love that they're adapting and changing like that, like always. I mean, that's what they do. But yeah, it was just like, at the time, it was like, it wasn't like that. So that's one of the reasons why I went over there. It was nice. Yeah. It's nice, but and I get to do whatever I want. I get to act. I get to do all these other projects, and I don't have to worry about it.
Is it true to my concept though? Like, time off is your worst enemy.
Yes. Yes. It's like, it is for a wrestler. We're used to being 100 miles an hour all the time and staying busy, like, and filling our days up with stuff. So like, if I'm sitting there and I don't have anything to do, I start getting stir crazy. And that's where the trouble comes in, I'm like, I have to try to stay off the internet.
The bumps hurt a little bit harder too after being off for longer. You know what I mean? You come back, you get in the ring, you take a bump, and you go, "What the hell?"
Yeah, I literally said that before. I think it was like a couple of days ago because I was like, okay, I had 5 years of not wrestling, right? And so my body had healed, but we got.
Yeah,
And then you take one bump and you're just like, what have I been doing my whole life? Like our body was one big callus, and all of a sudden you're like soft and supple and taking a bump and you're like, what is this? What the heck? So you have to adapt to that. So having too much time off as well, I feel like you have to stay busy and you have to stay active because if not, if you're sitting around, you take your bump, it hurts more. Yeah.
Again, we're talking to Saraya. Hell in Boots, Clawing My Way Through 9 Lives, available right now wherever books are sold, officially tomorrow. So make sure you pre-order that copy, order it right now. But Saraya, you and I have a unique bond, whether you know it or not. We both have worked with Booker T. Okay, and it has its pros, it has its cons. Lord knows it. What was your experience like working with Booker and Renee and everybody on WWE Backstage, which was such a fun show?
It was a really fun show, and I loved it so much. I love working with Booker. Like Booker, I know I'm like talking about you like you're not here right now, but like he's just very like if you need advice about anything, if you need you can ask him a question at any time. Like he's open and willing to do it for you. Like and I know like a lot of people do that, but he's at this legend status, right? Where he doesn't really need to socialize with us if he doesn't want to. He can have his own dressing room, he can go do his thing. But no, you're always there and you're always laughing and you kept morale high. Like you're always with a big smile on your face, always making jokes, always cracking jokes. Even to the point where he got me into trouble online. But no, he's such a pleasure to work with. Like I adore Booker, and if anyone says any different, I was about to cuss them, but they ain't good people.
I say that all the time. I say, I'm normally a pretty nice guy. Normally, people like me. I say, but if you don't like me, I've told you, something you didn't like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing about you too, is that you are a brutally honest man. You're a brutally honest man. Even if it hurts someone's feelings to hear the bitter truth, that doesn't matter. You're still going to tell it to someone. And I love people like that, though. I don't want to be lied to. I don't want people to beat around the truth or what. I want to be told honestly, and that's exactly who you are. And I love that about you, and I feel like everyone loves that about you. You're like, but you don't want to get on the wrong side of you, though. That's the thing.
No, you don't want to get that phone call. You don't want to get that phone call.
No. You definitely have like this intimidating aura about you. But it's a good
Hey
thing.
man, I'm always laughing, man.
You are, but you're still.
But when I'm not laughing.
Oh, that's when you have to worry, right? That's when you have to worry. But no, you have like this intimidating aura. Even though I've known you for like a better half of a decade, I've known you for a long, long time.
Long time.
You still have like that energy about you. Like you're just a very powerful person. Like you command a room when you walk into it, which is why you're so successful.
I just try to just keep working hard, just like you. We just keep working. We just keep putting in the work. And and more importantly, giving back like you're doing right now, like you said, is important to you. Like for me, it was so important. I really didn't realize how important it was until I did my book From Prison to Promise, and did the feedback I always get, from people when they read it. And what I always say, I say when you finish with it, pass it on to someone else. It might can help them. You know what I mean? So with your book, so make sure you let them know, to pass it on when they finish with it, because it might get help. So, but more importantly, go buy it. Go buy it first.
Buy like 10 copies and pass the 10 copies out. That's what we want to do. And then tell somebody to buy 10. But I want to ask you too, Saraya, because you were saying that your Booker got you in trouble one time on social media, which I know all fun and games. But Booker always says on this show, man, if I had social media when I was coming up, I'd be in so much trouble. I wouldn't know what I'd be doing. You've said that on the show before, but having come up in the social media game, Saraya, it's a positive and it's a negative. How have you been able to ride that wave?
Well, I had moments where I couldn't ride it very well, and I'll end up, talking some crap on the internet. But recently, I've told myself the best thing you can do when you have social media is to delete it off your phone and take a break from it. So I do that often, where I feel like if I'm getting too much, because everyone wants to hate on you for something. And I feel like the IWC, especially on Twitter, they have a problem with everything. So if I've performed or done something, I delete social media off my phone. I'm not going to read it because I know I'll bite, and that's what they want. So it's like, and everyone as well, everyone's doing like, everyone tries to say that their life is perfect and all this kind of stuff. And social media is not real. So like, I try to delete it and to have like a little refresh. And yeah, it's just the best thing I've done for myself. I'll go like a week without being on it, and I just have someone post for me. It's just, it's dangerous on there. People are nuts.
Oh my God, man. It is really dangerous on there, man. It's like crime circus. That's the site I watch, the crime circus. You watch it, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
But no, man, I stay off the social media myself as far as Twitter and stuff like that, because they try to kill me, man. They try to kill me. But I don't let it get to me, because I always say they wish, not they hope, they wish they had my job. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They wish it was in my position. So no, man, I'm take it where I can get it. But let everybody know again where they can get the book. And so they can get it, and all your social media, tag everything.
Yeah.
Right now.
You got it. So social media, I only have Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and it's Saraya across the board, at Saraya, Saraya. There is links in my bios for the book, but if it's easier, just go to Amazon. It's on there. Everyone has an Amazon. But yeah, so follow me on there. Keep up. Let me know what you think of the book. Leave reviews, whatever you need to do, and pass the book along.
Yeah. Well, you can get it. Well, any bookstore out there?
Any bookstore, if you want to go to Barnes & Noble. I also did an audio version too, where I read the book. I feel like that's really important for the author to do, so I did that. So if you don't like to read, then there's the option to listen instead on Amazon or wherever you get your books.
Oh yeah, man, that's a real legend, man. Legend.
No,
I'm serious. I want to thank you for stepping inside the Hall of Fame, giving us a little champagne wishes, man, little caviar dreams. We really, really appreciate you guys. Stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.